Everyone around you seems to be on track. They hit the milestones, got the degree, the job, the relationship, the house, roughly when they were supposed to. Like there's a schedule, and they're following it. And then there's you. You're not behind because you're not trying. That's the part that stings. You are trying, you're working, you're thinking, you're showing up. But somehow, the timeline doesn't match. Your life looks different from what it was supposed to look like by now. And there's this quiet, heavy feeling that follows you. I'm late. I missed it. Everyone else figured it out, and I'm still here. If you carry that feeling, this video is going to explain where it actually comes from. Because it's not about how fast you're moving. It's about the invisible schedule you never agreed to. Society runs on a timeline, and whether you realize it or not, you've internalized it. Finish school by 18, get a degree by 22, start a career by 25, be in a serious relationship by your late 20s, own a home, have children, be settled by 35. Nobody signed a contract agreeing to this, but almost everyone measures themselves against it. Sociologist Bernice Neugarten studied this in the 1960s. She described the concept of a social clock, the unwritten cultural timetable that tells people when they're supposed to reach life milestones. On time, early, or late. When you're on time according to the social clock, you feel normal, secure, like things are going the way they should. But when you're off time, when you graduate late, start your career late, find love late, or change direction entirely, something shifts. You don't just feel behind, you feel wrong. And the cruelest part is, the clock isn't even yours. It was set by a culture, a generation, a set of economic conditions that may have nothing to do with your actual life. But it feels personal. It feels like your failure. The feeling of being left behind isn't just emotional, it's neurological. Your brain is constantly scanning for where you fit in the social hierarchy. This isn't vanity, it's survival wiring. For most of human history, your position in the group determined your access to resources, protection, and mates. Being behind wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. That wiring hasn't updated. So when you see someone your age buying a house while you're still renting, your brain doesn't think different circumstances. It thinks threat. Researchers call these upward social comparisons, and they consistently trigger feelings of shame, inadequacy, and anxiety. Not because you're actually in danger, but because your brain can't tell the difference between social standing in a tribe and social standing on Instagram. And here's what makes it worse. The brain doesn't compare you to everyone. It compares you to people who are similar to you. Same age, same background, same starting point. When someone very different succeeds, you can dismiss it. But when someone who looks like you succeeds, it feels personal. It feels like evidence that you should be there too. Here's what nobody talks about. Most people who feel left behind aren't behind because they're lazy or incapable. They're off schedule because something happened. Neugarten called these off-time events, things that happen at the wrong time in your life, disrupting the expected trajectory. A parent who got sick when you were supposed to be in college. A mental health crisis in your 20s that paused everything. A toxic relationship that cost you years. Growing up in poverty when your peers had stability. A late diagnosis. ADHD, autism, depression. That explained why everything felt harder, but only after you'd already fallen behind. These events don't show up on anyone's timeline. Nobody sees the invisible weight you carried while other people were building. They just see the gap. And so do you, because you've learned to measure yourself by outcomes, not by what it cost you to get there. You look at where you are and compare it to where you should be, without accounting for the detours, the setbacks, the years you spent surviving instead of building. That's not being behind. That's having a different path with a different starting line. If this is resonating with you, take a second and subscribe. Every video on this channel is about uncovering the hidden patterns running your life. And if you haven't seen the video about why you can't stop comparing yourself to others, it connects directly to this one. Link is in the description. Feeling left behind doesn't just hurt, it changes your behavior. When you believe you're late, you start rushing. You make decisions based on urgency instead of alignment. You take the job because you should, not because you want to. You stay in the relationship because leaving means starting over, and starting over means falling further behind. Or you go the other direction. You freeze. The gap between where you are and where you think you should be becomes so overwhelming that you stop trying. Why bother if you're already too late? Both responses come from the same place. The belief that there's a right time for everything, and you've missed yours. But here's what that belief doesn't account for. Some of the most meaningful things in life only happen because of the delay. The career you found at 35 because the one at 25 fell apart. The relationship that works because you did the wrong one first. The self-awareness you have now precisely because you struggled. The detour wasn't a waste, it was the education. So what do you do with this? First, name the clock. Make the invisible schedule visible. Write down the milestones you think you're supposed to have hit by now. Then ask, who decided this? Was it your parents, your culture, social media, you? Once you can see the schedule, you can question it. And once you question it, it loses its grip. Second, account for the full picture. You are not just your outcomes. You are your outcomes plus everything it took to get there. If you spent 5 years surviving a difficult home situation, those 5 years count. They're not a gap on your timeline. They're the hardest work you've ever done. Third, stop measuring by age. The social clock runs on age, but development doesn't. People don't all grow at the same speed, and they don't all start from the same place. Comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 10 isn't just unfair, it's meaningless. Fourth, replace on time with on path. The question isn't whether you're early or late. The question is whether you're moving in a direction that matters to you. You can arrive at 40 to something most people found at 25 and still be exactly on time for your life. And finally, give yourself credit for the distance you've already covered. You're so focused on the gap ahead that you've forgotten how far you've come, especially if you started further back than most people realize. You're not behind, you're on a different timeline, and the heaviness you feel isn't proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're measuring yourself against a clock that was never set for you. Your path had detours, it had interruptions, it had seasons where survival was the only milestone that mattered. That's not falling behind, that's living a life that didn't follow the script. The schedule isn't real, but you are. And you're still here, still trying. That counts for more than you think. If this video helped you see something more clearly, leave a comment. What's the one milestone you feel late on? And what would change if you stopped using someone else's timeline? If you're new here, this channel is about understanding the hidden patterns running your life, so you can finally start choosing differently. Subscribe if that sounds like something you need. I'll see you in the next one.